to an article from Politico, which says, job surge surprise shows economy strength, but clouds Fed plans. The labor market's continued strength comes even amid lingering pessimism and uncertainty over the economy. So we've heard a lot about the economic ruin that Joe Biden has brought upon this country from the right, and really from the centrist media in some cases. It's just not the case. Okay, here's just the latest example of how well Biden's economy is doing in certain aspects. Okay, and it's not to say that there's not things that aren't holding it down and things that could be better. Okay, including inflation, but taking into account the economy that Biden was handed, the supply chain shortages, due to the pandemic, and record high inflation. Okay, that inflation that rose under his first year in office. Here in June of 2023, economy is looking pretty good. Red-hot labor market is refusing to cool down, showing the remarkable resilience of Joe Biden's economy, but also making the Fed Reserve's battle to curb inflation that much harder. The U.S. economy added 339,000 jobs in May. Let's just read that again. The U.S. economy added 339,000 jobs in May, blowing through Wall Street's expectations that employment growth would slow as borrowing costs and tighter credit conditions take hold. The labor market and its economy, and the economy it supports, will not just go gently into the good night despite policy efforts to cool both, said Joe Bruletas, chief economist at RSM. The labor market's continued strength gives Biden a much-needed boost as he enters the 2024 presidential campaign against a backdrop of lingering pessimism and economic uncertainty. Even with unemployment near record lows, fear of a recession, which swelled after 3 regional banks collapse amid surging interest rates, have dogged the White House attempts to spotlight the economy's underlying strength. Right? So it's difficult for Biden to go parading around the success of the economy, because you're going to have people in the media and the people on the right point to, oh, but what about the bank collapses? Oh, but what about inflation? Oh, So Biden's really damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, in terms of speaking to the issue and speaking to the things that he's been able to accomplish. They've kind of letting the economy churn on and quietly doing what he can to help the economy, and basically let the economy speak for itself. And he's taking the approach of, I'm not going to constantly talk it up every day because, well, there's just going to be people who point to things that are going wrong. Right? So, let's continue the article here. It says the battle over raising the government's borrowing limit also clouded the economic outlook. The May jobs report landed only hours after Congress passed a bipartisan bill to lift the debt ceiling, averting a possible default that could have upended the financial markets and thrown the economy into a slump. That measure, which Biden is expected to sign later today, was hailed as a victory by White House allies, who contend that its moderate spending cuts will preserve the president's earlier policy wins and only marginally curtail economic growth. While the unemployment rate ticked up to 3.7% in May and wage growth slowed compared to previous months, the Labor Department also revised its estimates for March and April, saying the economy added 91,000 more jobs than initially reported. It's hard to emphasize just how much the current rate of job growth is best described as extraordinarily robust. Justin Wolfers, a professor of public policy and economics at the University of Michigan, tweeted on Friday. Job growth at this rate, this far into a recovery with unemployment this low, is pretty close to unprecedented. Surging employment figures in professional and business services, healthcare, and hospitality and leisure, where inflation has been especially stubborn, might prompt the Fed to reconsider a pause in its campaign of interest rate hikes that central bank officials have signaled is coming for at least the June meeting. Fed Chair Jerome Powell has repeatedly said the labor market needs to soften to help bring down prices. Going into Friday, investors overwhelmingly expected the central bank to hold off raising interest rates at its policy setting meeting on June 13th to 14th. That's pretty much it here. So we got record low unemployment. Okay. Record low unemployment at 3.4%, I believe it's currently at. And even with that, we are still having these massive, the unexpected, huge growths in job reporting. So while it's a blessing and a curse in a way, because it shows that the economy is doing strong and people are working and people are spending, okay, on tons of different goods and services. It's also putting a thorn in the butt of the Federal Reserve, because they may have to raise interest rates yet again, okay, to try to limit spending in an attempt to get inflation down, okay? But taking into consideration also that inflation has been falling quite a bit, and really what we're seeing is inflation is going down, but what's not going down is corporate pricing, okay? We have inflation going down, and it's not nearly as bad as it was in the summer of 21, but corporations have failed to reflect the ease in inflation in how they price their products. So really what we're seeing is a result of corporate price gouging, okay, rather than a direct result of Biden's administration, okay? So that's all I got for you guys on this one. This is really, really great news for Biden, and bravo. You know, this is really, really a good thing for our country, especially with unemployment already being so low. All right, so let's head on over to the next one here.